How's it, everyone? Welcome to a lekker presentation here on Pinotage. We're leading up to the big day, 100 years of the grape variety Pinotage, born in 1925, celebrating its 100th century in 2025. The big day, Pinotage Day, is actually the 11th of October, so I'm putting some content out there to really gear you up for the celebrations of Pinotage. My name is Jimmy Smith. This is Wine with Jimmy. Please, if you are listening and you have a question or a comment, please get in touch. You can do so in the comments section below the video. Make sure you click like and subscribe. We really want to see those fingers. So we're going to talk about all the things Pinotage in this presentation. I'm going to go through the history of the grape variety. I'm going to talk about its key characteristics, what it's like grape growing, winemaking, where it's found in South Africa. And then I'm actually going to go through tasting notes of 5 Pinotage wines that you can mark yourself up against if you are actually studying the world of wine, such as WSET. So there will be full examiner's tasting notes on these wines. If you're watching as well and you want to post about this, have a look at the hashtags you'll see on the screens. Hashtag Pinotage100, hashtag Pinotage Day, and you can use the handles Wines of South Africa, UK, and at Pinotage Wines. Of course, there are other hashtags there for all of my associations down at the bottom of the screen. So we are rocking and rolling here about the grape variety Pinotage. Let's go about a bit of the history. And it starts, of course, 100 years ago with its creator, and that is Abraham Isaac Perold, pictured quite handsomely in the left-hand side of your screen there. So in 1925, Professor Abraham successfully crossed Pinot Noir and a variety called Hermitage, which is known to be Cinsault. So it's Pinot Noir and Cinsault being crossed together, but it was mistakenly called Hermitage in the Western Cape in the 1920s. This is where the etymology root comes from in terms of Pinotage, Pinot Noir, Hermitage, Pinotage. So this background equipped Professor Abraham Isaac with a unique skill set and a real importance in the area. And actually, after a professional stint in the Cape government, he decided to extend the range of grape varieties planted in the region. And there are, to this day, 177 varietals that form a part of the collection at the Welgavellen Experimental Farm of the University of Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch not being too far from Cape Town, sort of anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour to the east of Cape Town. Pinotage was actually almost lost to this ambition of Perold, because he passed away in 1941 without leaving any evidence in terms of notes and literature about the variety. So it would have been something which was created by him that probably would then just fade away. But then we introduce another character. The seedlings were rescued by Charlie Niehaus, who transported them to Perold's successor. That's C.J. Theron de Val that you see in this picture just here. Once again, looking rather dapper. And this was at the nursery at the Elsenburg Agricultural College, where they were simply labelled as Perold's Hermitage times Pinot. In 1935, Theron grafted them onto newly established Richter 99 and Richter 57 rootstocks at the Welgavellen nursery, as mentioned before. And in 1941, hence why we have this date up here on the slide, he produced the first barrel of Pinotage in Stellenbosch. So the roots of the first Pinotage really are from Stellenbosch. And the name Pinotage appears on a wine label for the first time in 1961. And this is with the SFWs. So this is the SFW's 1959 Lanzerac Pinotage. Now let's go across. Here you go. So this is the 1959 bottle. So that's what you see here. And wonderful as well. And I've tasted this before. So the 1959 Pinotage, the first label to adorn the grape variety on the label. A little bit more history as well then. So in 1941 again, when that first barrel of Pinotage is produced by Ferrandoval, you have Pinotage vines being planted at the Kanonkop estate by Paarl Sauer and Danny Rossov. And the wines have really certainly risen to great fame. Kanonkop Pinotage is known as the benchmark for old vine complex Pinotage. Certainly a formidable leader in the Cape's red wine pack. And we're talking about wines that can certainly age for decades. I have tasted Pinotage from Kanonkop going back to the 1990s. And yes, there are some that are a little bit more disjointed, but there are certainly some that have evolved fantastically. The same with any collection of wines around the world. I've put up a picture there of the Kanonkop vineyard map. Just in the shadow of the Simsberg mountain. If you are in the area of sort of eastern Stellenbosch, then please do visit. They certainly are known as custodians of Pinotage. Moving on. In 1991, Bayers Truter, you'll see to the left, was named the International Winemaker of the Year thanks to his Kanonkop Pinotage 1989. So this is the winemaker of the year at the IWC. So this is what you see in the bottle picture here. So some fame certainly coming out of this exceptional Pinotage starting to emerge. And this is quite interesting because it's a great variety that has only been around first since 1925, but really planted in the 1940s. So it's a great variety with a very short history behind it. And when we put it up against other great varieties of the world, many of those have millennia of history behind them. Now, the Pinotage Association is responsible for developing the quality of Pinotage, and it was established in the 1990s. This quest for certainly developing the quality is done by continuously educating members on the viticulture and vinification of Pinotage grapes. And this is by exchanging ideas on the production and marketing of the grape variety. The association also works to identify problem areas around the growing and production of Pinotage, of which some of you will know there has been some before. There is certainly a distinct impetus on research and development and developing the stock of high quality Pinotage through the nurseries. And certainly when we're looking at the diversity of clones, which is at this moment in time not overtly diverse. Let's talk about the grape growing characteristics of Pinotage. It is an early budding variety, which certainly lends itself to its major parent of Pinot Noir. And when we talk about early budding, we are talking about an earlier bud burst, which creates a heightened risk of spring frost. But spring frost is actually rarely a problem in many of the warmer or even coastal parts of the Cape where it's typically grown. There are parts of, say, the Bray de Kloof where there can be problems with spring frost, certainly in more continental areas with altitude. But on the whole, it's not an issue. It's only moderately susceptible to fungus and fungal diseases. But key things here, it's hardy, has really good drought tolerance, which makes it very useful in the Western Cape, which has had significant drought problems in the past. Certainly when you look at the teens in the 20s, for example. It's moderately vigorous, but it is rather productive. So you can find this variety sometimes yielding 20 to 25 tonnes per hectare, making very commercial wine, but all the way down to 4 or 5 tonnes per hectare when we are talking about old vine and really sort of complex expressions of the grape variety. Also, it obtains fairly high sugar levels in small berries, and that results in potentially high alcohol wines that can have some deep colour. And it often only requires a short time on the skins after the end of fermentation to produce their colour. There can be problems around those skins as well. So there are producers that are actively only keeping the skin contact, the maceration, for a partial part of the fermentation. And certainly, if you are looking at the expressions of Pinotage, which are those very sort of juicy, fragrant, floral, bright expressions, they're very limited on the amount of skin contact. Only at this moment in time 2 approved clones, but that is being researched as we speak. The Pinotage style, so the traditional style is where you get deep ruby style colours with red plum and blackberry, high tannins and full bodied with a very sort of high alcohol character to it. The inexpensive wines are typically good to very good. Inexpensive in price, of course, and the very good wines to outstanding in quality can be quite premium priced. But it's not as easy as that, because even in the premium category, they're not all just full-bodied oaky wines. You have got some that are really beautifully poised, some salty, fresh, delicate, some bright and juicy, those that have carbonic maceration. There's a hell of a lot of diversity in the winemaking methodology behind this grape variety. It is important to address a potential critique of Pinotage, just because some of you out there might not have complete 100% success rate with this grape variety. And that's because Pinotage has possibly been cultivated from underripe fruit and with extended macerated skin fermentation. So that, coupled with the plethora of virus diseases in the vineyard, and certainly fermentations, like I mentioned, which are quite heavy-handed or too hot, according to the Pinotage Association in 2010, unpleasant spray paint aromas, which is due to the isomol acetate, may develop in the vines, if the vines rather are subject to water stress or high temperatures at harvest time. And these are aromas that can be increased by very high fermentation temperatures. But there are some winemakers out there that believe that actually a short ferment with some high ferments, not very high temperatures, but late 20s, are important in blowing off these compounds. Others have reported an aroma of, say, tar or burnt rubber, hence why they've got this picture on your screen. Now, this may be linked to the continued effect of viral diseased vines in the vineyards, but this is unclear. Many believe this also could be to the underripe conditions of fruit of commercial Pinotage as well. I'm going to talk about the volume side of the industry to begin with, because I want to give you an honest representation of Pinotage, as we would do with all grape varieties. It's not all just high quality. There is a full gambit of styles out there, spanning from inexpensive to premium. So high volume inexpensive, you'll get fruit grown at high yields, like I mentioned, upwards of 20 to 25 tonnes per hectare, with high levels of irrigation, so giving you big yields. Now, typically, there would be less sorting, because the more sorting carried out by expensive equipment or by more people means higher cost. So this means that you have to make a judgment call to allow some problematic fruit through, and that may cause distinctive compounds within the Pinotage that is produced. And what do we expect with this Pinotage? Well, you can find single varietal cheap Pinotage in the market, of course, but much of it is blended into Western Cape blends. So you'll find it being blended with the likes of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Shiraz to make these very sort of stereotypically branded wines of the Western Cape region. You'll see a label there on your slide. Now, in terms of the winemaking methodology for both inexpensive and premium wines, they'll be punching over and punching down, typically at the start of the fermentation, where there is a lower level of alcohol in the solution and therefore less tannin is extracted. And it could be a critique of Pinotage, where there is an over-extraction of what we call a rustic note in Pinotage through the fermentation, too much heavy handling. And the inexpensive wines will typically be stainless steel or used barrels for their ferments and or maturation. But typically oak flavours will come from staves or chips. You'll see a picture here of oak staves. Now, these wines that are matured in steel with oak staves being inserted in or oak chippings will be released early. They don't need too much aging because they will soak up that flavour, typically around 6 months after vintage. You can see the oak staves can be attached in the inside of a barrel fermenter or even in stainless steel or concrete. The oak chips are generally placed in a permeable sack which is left to soak in the wine. And for both of these methodologies of staves and chips, you can quite easily get different levels of toasting of these staves and chips. Okay, next up. And then the wines for these commercial styles will often be transported in bulk and actually bottled at the final market. So it will leave on big container vessels like this in big volume containers and then be bottled at the destination market, be it United States or the UK, for example. But I'm guessing most of you are here for the premium Pinotage. And this is from fruit which is going to be from low yielding vines, often old, dry farmed vines. And these are very highly prized across the Western Cape. I mentioned Kanonkop, which will have a real sort of contingent of these in their Simmonsburg Stellenbosch vineyards. You'll actually see some old Pinotage vines at the Bellevue estate in Stellenbosch, believed to be the oldest vineyard in production. There, of course, will be a lot of expense thrown at these wines, so careful sorting of harvested fruit. Typically, the wines are 100% Pinotage. They don't tend to be blended. So you'll see them being really sort of symbolically South African, really unashamedly South African, with the grape variety made in South Africa. Crushed grapes can go through a period of cold soaking to improve colour extraction and, some say, delicate aromatics. The fuller-bodied expressions will certainly go through around 3 to 5 days post-fermentation extraction. So what we call post-fermentation maceration. That's in conjunction with the skin contact during fermentation. So this will give often very full-bodied, deep-coloured wines, but this doesn't have to be the case always. Of course, there are lighter and elegant styles, such as the David and Nadia Pinotage you see in your picture. In these lighter styles, the grapes may have been grown in cooler sites and picked at lower levels of ripeness, but still ripe. The wines are typically medium in colour, medium in tannin, with higher acids and brighter red fruits, certainly leading themselves to their parents of Pinot Noir and Cinsault. They do typically not go through post-maceration. And these might have short aging in oak, but actually typically age for 12 to 15 months in French oak barriques, with some of the big robust styles being over 50% new oak, and then released 2 years after the vintage. Now, while the high proportion of new oak used to be the norm with Pinotage, there is an increasing amount of producers using less new oak and larger wood formats such as fûtres or tonneaux. The wines will be bottled in South Africa and then transported to final market, so no bulk transport. So where are we finding our Pinotage in South Africa? Now, as mentioned, there are many multi-blended expressions from the Western Cape, which may come from areas such as the Klein Karoo, Breda Kloof areas, and across the Boland Mountains towards places like Stellenbosch and so on. And these are what we call Western Cape Pinotage blends. So they don't have any specific location of identity, but across the Western Cape, and they're generally inexpensive. But then we are looking really at higher quality areas for Pinotage. The two that are highlighted there in a sort of darker red and orange, respectively, are Stellenbosch and Paarl. The Stellenbosch district stretches from just inland of the coast at Somerset West, which is a city sitting to the east of Cape Town, and all the way up to the mountains that surround the town of Stellenbosch itself. So we're looking at Stellenbosch Mountain, Simmonsburg, for example, and the Bolletary Hills. The climate here is moderate to warm, and that's because it is impacted by False Bay to the south. So there's sufficient rain in winter, summers are rarely too hot, and thanks to those cool winds from False Bay, the Cape Doctor, we get that cooling effect in this area. But the real key to success here is what I just mentioned, but also the varying degrees of altitude due to the mountainous or hillside conditions here, particularly the Simmonsburg Stellenbosch, which is an important area for Pinotage. The orangey area more inland is the Paarl district, that means pearl. It's a large district. It's over the mountain, over the Simmonsburg from Stellenbosch. It's less exposed to the cooling breezes of the sea, being inland. So it's hotter in summer, but it's moderated by more of a diurnal temperature. That's the colder nights that one will find here. Once again, a variety of altitude here will produce a variety of expressions. Let's have a look at our next slide, which is looking at the Breda Kloof. Very important up-and-coming area. So the Breda Kloof is there in blue. So this is just into the kind of central belt of the Western Cape. Some really exciting wines being found in the Breda Kloof. Certainly when you look at the label there on the screen of Olifantsberg. Pinotage is not the leading variety here, but it certainly has importance. And I find the wines here, certainly due to the altitude, which can be up to something like 400 meters, with some of them 300, you find that there is a lot of brightness in the wines. Certainly once like I mentioned with the Olifantsberg.